You know what's strange? Some of the sharpest, deepest, most emotionally powerful people you'll ever meet didn't become that way from books, therapy, or years of self improvement. They became that way because at some point in their lives, they had no other choice. Their minds weren't built in comfort, they were built in chaos, in silence, in rooms where they had to read a parent's face before they knew how to read a sentence, in households where being a child was a luxury they were never allowed to have. And somehow, out of all of that, they developed a kind of awareness that most people will never possess, no matter how many courses they take. Psychologists are starting to call this traumatic intelligence. And if no one has ever explained to you why you feel so much, why you see through people so easily, why you've always felt older than your age, stay with me. Because this isn't just a video, this is a mirror. And by the end of it, you're going to understand things about yourself that nobody has ever put into words for you before. Here's the psychological premise. Pain doesn't just wound people. Sometimes it sculpts them into something rare. Research in developmental psychology shows that children raised in emotionally unpredictable environments develop a nervous system that operates on an entirely different frequency. Their amygdala, their prefrontal cortex, their entire emotional radar was wired early to detect danger in a smile, tension in a voice, lies in silence. What looked like survival back then became intelligence now. And the tragic beauty of it is this: the very things that once hurt you are now the things that make you extraordinary. The first sign is that you can feel a room the second you walk into it. You don't need words. You sense who's angry, who's faking, who's hurting behind their laughter. Most people talk. You observe. Most people react. You absorb. This isn't a personality trait. It's a trained nervous system. Your mind learned long ago that reading people wasn't optional. It was the difference between peace and pain. And that skill never left you. The second sign is that you care about people in ways that quietly destroy you. You feel their sadness as if it were your own. You notice what they're not saying. You lie awake at night, worrying about someone who hasn't thought about you all day. Psychologists call this hyperempathy, and it usually develops in children who grew up having to monitor the emotions of the adults who were supposed to be monitoring them. You didn't choose this level of feeling. It was installed in you before you had the words to protest. The third sign is that you become eerily calm when everything falls apart. Crisis doesn't break you. It focuses you. You become the one holding everything together, the person everyone calls in emergencies. But here's the part nobody sees. After the storm, when the world goes quiet, you collapse alone. You cry in the shower. You numb out on your phone until 3 a.m. because you were never taught how to fall apart in front of people. You were only taught how to hold it together for them. The fourth sign is that your mind never stops analyzing people. You replay conversations for hours. You dissect why someone said what they said, why their tone shifted. To others, this looks like overthinking, but it isn't. It's a survival algorithm that never got switched off. You became a student of human behavior because once upon a time, understanding people was the only way to stay safe. Before we go further, I want to say something real. If any of this is hitting close to home, if you've been sitting here feeling like someone finally put your life into words, hey, do me one small favor. Hit that like button, not for me, for the algorithm. So this video reaches the next person who has spent their whole life feeling like too much and not enough at the same time. Someone out there needs to hear this tonight, and your one tap could be the reason they find it. Okay, let's keep going, because the next signs are where it gets personal. The fifth sign is that you are painfully, stubbornly, self-reliant. You'd rather struggle alone than be a burden. You've been let down so many times that asking for help feels dangerous. People look at you and think you've got it all under control. What they don't see is the exhaustion behind the competence. You didn't become strong because you wanted to. You became strong because nobody was coming to save you. And at some point, you stopped waiting. The sixth sign is that you feel everything at a volume most people can't even hear. A song can wreck you. A small act of kindness can move you to tears. Injustice haunts you. Beauty overwhelms you. You've been told your whole life that you're too sensitive, too emotional, too deep. But those people don't understand. Your amygdala was trained to feel in extremes because your childhood was lived in extremes. What they call too much is actually just you, fully alive, in a world that's asking you to be numb. The seventh sign is that you don't trust easily, and you shouldn't apologize for it. You watch people carefully. You notice the gap between what they say and what they do. Cognitive psychologists call this adaptive skepticism, and it exists in you because you once trusted someone who didn't deserve it. But here's the part people miss. When you finally let someone in, your loyalty is a fortress. You don't love casually. You love like someone who knows exactly how rare real love is. The eighth sign is that rest feels terrifying. The moment life gets quiet, your brain scans for the next threat. You stay busy. You stay distracted. Because if you slow down, you might have to feel everything you've been running from. Learning to rest without guilt, without fear, is one of the most radical things a person like you will ever do in their lifetime. The ninth sign is that you have already lived multiple lives. Inside this one, you've rebuilt yourself after things that should have destroyed you. You've walked away from people you swore you couldn't live without. You've changed your beliefs, your values, your entire identity more than once. Most people are terrified of change. You were raised by it. Evolution isn't something you chose. It's the only thing that kept you alive. And the 10th sign, the one that ties all of this together, is that you carry a quiet, burning sense of meaning. You don't drift through life. You've stared at pain, your own, and the world's, and something in you refuses to let it be meaningless. You want your suffering to matter. You want to be the person for someone else that nobody was for you. Research on post-traumatic growth by psychologists Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun confirms what you've always felt in your chest. Deep adversity, when survived, often produces a depth of wisdom that comfort alone can never create. You learned early. You paid for it, but you learned. Here's what I need you to hear before this video ends. Traumatic intelligence is not something to celebrate without grieving what built it. The gift is real, but so was the cost. So was the child version of you who had to grow up too fast. And still, somehow, you turned all of that into empathy, the depth, strength, and wisdom. That isn't luck. That is the architecture of a soul that refused to let pain have the last word. So if this video feels like it was made for you, it's because, in a way, it was. And if you've made it this far, do one last thing. Subscribe to this channel and leave a comment below with just one word that describes what you felt while watching this. Just one. Because there are people reading those comments right now who need to know they are not alone. Your one word could be the exact thing that saves someone tonight. You are not too much. You are not broken. You are someone who survived the unsurvivable and came out of it with a mind that sees, a heart that feels, and a presence that heals people just by being in the room. The question is no longer how you got here. The question is what you're going to do with the extraordinary intelligence you were forced to build.